What is going on? It's your boy Astro, aka the Galaxy Shogun, and welcome back to the channel, One Piece fans. Before we dive into the intense events of chapter 1121, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Now let's get into it. Chapter 1121 kicks off with a bang as the Giants bravely defend against Saturn's relentless attacks. Luffy gears up for another strike but notices, oh, look at that, Bonnie's back in Gear 5th. I'll make the distinction and call it a Gear 5th imitation form, because that's what the Gorosei and everyone else is calling it, but let's just be honest about this, we still don't know what the limits of this will be. You know, a lot of people are really changing their tune now with this whole Gear 5th imitation thing. I thought it was a bad thing to begin with, that she could even utilize some of the powers, and now everybody's using this straw man argument, no pun intended. Oh, it is an imitation form, see, they said it, therefore she's never gonna do anything crazy. I think we already have proof that says the contrary, but let's wait it out and see, because I think time is on the side of my argument this time. So, moving on, instead of attacking, Luffy deflects one of Saturn's legs that was aimed at Bonnie, and he says, you know what, Bonnie, you should fight Saturn. Take the fight to him yourself. This moment really highlights Luffy's trust in Bonnie, given that they're fighting literal demon yokai. And it shows that he seemingly has some sort of, some sort of respect for Bonnie's strength or her abilities, or he's just insane, like I really don't know. Luffy generally has a pretty good gauge of people's strengths, he has great observation hockey, so I think we shouldn't underestimate Bonnie's power in this form, given that Luffy is willing to tell her to go head on with, again, demon, yokai, whatever the mess is, like the five elders of the world. Like, even Luffy, as silly as he is sometimes, wouldn't send somebody in to die. Like, Luffy would never tell Nami to go fight Kaido, so just putting that out there. You know, Bonnie's strength and determination is definitely admirable, and it's cool to see her in this form. I do like the design, but let's just get those critiques out there very early. So, meanwhile this is going on, Dr. Vegapunk broadcast continues, and at this point it's like off on, off on. I'm almost forgetting that this thing is still going on at this point, but anyways. He's telling the world now that the history of the Void Century will soon be revealed, so thank you, Vegapunk, for telling us that the 30th time this arc. He reiterates how the ancient weapons sunk the continents in the past and declares that someone is trying to erase all the descendants of rare races. Some examples would be the Buccaneers, the Lunarians, the Three-Eyed Tribe, and we get to see, we get to see the Kings alive for once, and then obviously we see Kuma, and then Three-Eyed Tribe, you see the Pudding still in captivity. And Vegapunk's message is kind of a reminder of, you know, the dangers and how sick the world government, Emu, whoever's pulling the strings, which is obviously Zemu, really is at the end of the day. The fact that they are really trying to eliminate these races. So real sick stuff going on there. So Bonnie, filled with memories of Saturn's cruelty towards her parents, Kuma and Guinea, angrily confronts him, and she denounces Saturn, you know, gets a ball in his face, calls them false gods, which is great, and a little ironic given that she's a false god in that moment by copying Luffy, and Luffy, to some extent, may even be a false god. Or a full god. Who knows, you know, how far that's going to go into, if Luffy is really a god in that form, or he's just using god powers by having that fruit. But, you know, the argument is there that Luffy is in fact a god at this point, and by Bonnie imitating him, she is in fact being a false god, so that's a little hypocritical, but I think that was set up on purpose by Odin, and not Odin, set up on purpose by Oda, and it's definitely something that we should be paying attention to. So anyways, she goes ahead and does a emotional, powerful attack with Luffy. Luffy goes and does some Gear 5 variation of Jet Gatling. It looks pretty cool, but Bonnie seems to load up some sort of miniature or maybe a smaller version of what she did in the last attack with Luffy. It looks like there's also hockey on it. Again, who knows the advanced types of hockey on it, but certainly it did some damage because Saturn went flying. It was also real cool to see her honor her parents' wishes and say, you know, effectively, I'm going to keep on living. So after the simultaneous attack on Saturn, he basically gets blasted off. A lot of Team Rocket action going on here. And he's in pieces. Like, he's going into the ocean, which is, you know, going to be really important to see how he reacts to that. Because, you know, if he has a devil fruit and he goes to the ocean, it should be GG. Or now we find out if he's, you know, in fact a devil fruit user or just an actual yokai demon or whatever. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this is the end, if, like, they really took him out, which at least reading it feels a little anticlimactic if this was the end for Saturn, so I really think that it's not, but we're at least about to see how the Gorosei, at least one of them, interacts with water, so we'll know if they're demons soon. We'll know if there's some demon action going on soon. So the crowd cheers, and even Kuma smiles at their victory. And frankly, I don't want to seem like just a negative Nancy, but how is this guy Kuma smiling? Didn't Akainu like burn off half of his face? And we'll get to Akainu. There's some stuff going on with him later in the chapter, but you know, Kuma surviving this, he shouldn't. If there's going to be a moment in a few chapters where Bonnie and Kuma get to, speak before he passes on, beautiful. If he survives and he's just, oh, everybody, it's Kuma, like, the amount of stuff this guy's body's been through, and I understand he's a buccaneer, so if that ends up being the reason he stays alive, I can't even really say that it's like Mickey. I mean, I can, but at least there's a little bit of explanation, given that, his lineage is stronger and he's a buccaneer. However, I'm just going to put it out there. If Kuma just, appears a few chapters later with the bandage on his head, just chilling, smiling, vibing with the Straw Hats, that's going to be a little too Mickey for me, I'll be honest, because he got his face blown off, he basically got the white beard treatment from Akainu, and yeah, it just wouldn't make a lot of sense if he's just A-okay after what he's endured, especially given that he's already a cyborg and was a slave and was already injured and then escaped, and yeah, there's just too much going on there. So, anyways, the excitement isn't over as everyone notices the thousand sunny falling out of the sky, and everyone's pretty excited. Like, the end is near. This arc is ending. I know the fans are excited. This arc is ending, but we're moving on to bigger and better things. The Sunny seems to be out of in the clear now, I should say. So Vegapunk continues his broadcast and reveals that those who've resisted the world government are close to discovering the truth. So basically, someone's going to find the One Piece really, really soon. He mentions that Rogers hoped that someone would find the treasure of the One Piece, and his declaration that sent waves of excitement. Um, you know, it's close. We're close to seeing that day. Basically, we see the pirates on Hachinosu, Blackbeard's Island. We see the Cross Guild, Buggy, and everyone's just overall really pumped up, and even the Marines are reminded of their duty to protect the people first. Vegapunk admits that the person who finds the One Piece may not be who Joy Boy wanted, which is interesting because, again, to my point earlier, isn't Luffy Joy Boy? So, him being I struggle to call it reincarnation at this point, but the fruit is effectively making him Joy Boy. Or he is Joy Boy. He's the one of prophecy. Doesn't that just confirm that he's gonna get it, or is Luffy gonna open the way for another person to get the One Piece? Because at this point, the part that Luffy is gonna play, it's getting too mumbled, and I do love the Joy Boy stuff, but if Luffy is Joy Boy and Joy Boy's the one who was setting up to get the One Piece, did he just set it up for the future version of himself to get it? In this case, then it's obviously pretty obvious that it would be Luffy who gets it. He's also the main character, as if he didn't have a million things working towards him. But the tension of who's really gonna get it, you'd have to think it's Luffy at this point, given that he's the main character and is technically Joy Boy. So it'll be really interesting to see how Oda subverts their expectations and keeps it fresh, because at this point, yeah, it's basically going to be Luffy, right? That's the idea. I mean, we got a few more mysterious people that we'll talk about later, but for the most part, it seems pretty cut and dry, who the front runners and who the front runner is at this point. So basically, the fate of the world rests in the hands of whoever claims it. Luffy and Bonnie managed to repel Saturn, obviously. So, as I mentioned, Saturn is just, in pieces, far from the distant, going into the water. And here's where it comes to my speculations with this whole thing. These chapters, I'll just say it, this was a longer chapter and Oda's in better health, which is absolutely great. We're very happy for that. Thank you, Goda. But was it filled with a lot of information? No. If you look at the chapter summary, it's about a paragraph. If you look at the long summary, it's like 3 paragraphs. So let's dive deeper into this and see what we could grab and extrapolate and just go further into what we learned here. So it seems like the whole world is now racing for the One Piece, which, I mean, you could argue they were since the beginning, with Roger kind of setting it off the first time, Whitebird doing it the second time, and this is kind of the third time someone's doing this, pumping everybody up about the One Piece. So, in a sense, people are more hyped than they've ever been. We see pirates, marines, and even revolutionaries in the last panels. Like, if I go through the complete list of people we see, let's take a look. We see Shanks, we see Luffy, we see Blackbeard, we see Buggy. So, obviously we got the Yonko. We see Akainu, we see Dragon, so Marine, in fact, Fleet Admiral. Then we see Head of the Revolutionary. Then we see the mysterious silhouettes. We know one of them is Emu based on the eyes. And the one at the bottom, looks a lot like Shanks and has a sword that looks like Griffin. Like, I don't want to say it necessarily looks a lot like Shanks, the silhouette does, but like more specifically, his sword looks a lot like Shanks' Griffin. So I'm definitely getting some Holy Knight vibes here, like another son, some sibling, even a sister of Shanks, like maybe a half sibling of Garland, because at this point it seems pretty clear that Garland is a family member of Shanks, whether that be like directly related to grandpa, father. It's looking pretty clear that Shanks is a part of the Celestial Dragon family, and this silhouetted person is some form of Celestial Dragon slash Holy Knight. So we also get Kobe, who's supposed to be the future of the Marines. We have Aokiji, who's doing his own thing with Blackbeard. Obviously, he's got some plans in the mix right now. And then we got Figureland, who's just like, I just want to see more Figureland, man. I'll be honest, I'm a Figureland stan. I'm a Garland fan because that haircut, you can't rock a haircut with anyone that has such a distinct haircut in this series just ends up being a badass, you know what I mean? Like this guy is Shanks' dad and I'm obviously one of the biggest Shanks fanboys there is. And him and his kids are just going to be unreal, like we saw what Shanks did in the recent anime episode. So, I want to see what Garland did. Garland, in his young days, was going around fighting Roger, Rox, all of the above, Whitebeard, Kaido. So, really interested to see what that family could do. And last but not least, we got Sabo. And he's kind of on a different side from Dragon. It's as if Sabo and Dragon have different ideas as to how things should go. Maybe Dragon's giving Sabo that freedom. They're technically still in the same organization, but it's interesting to see because, similar to Kobe and Akainu, they're on separate pages, so to speak. I know it's like a full page spread, but their ideals are different, though they're in the same organization. And the same seemingly applies for Sabo, the Flame Emperor, versus Dragon, who does nothing. And to add insult to injury, there's 3 dots above him, and he's looking east, or wherever he chooses to look today. But this is another chapter where we're basically just gonna get nothing but 3 dots and Dragon making a very stern face. That's all he apparently knows what to do. But that's enough of digging in that. It's just interesting that we have revolutionaries and Marines also saying that. Or not saying, but the implication here is that they would be going for the One Piece, and I'm trying to wrap my head around that because I mean, if the One Piece decides the fate of the world, I get it, but that's a bit of a departure than what was set up before, right? The Marines had goals of protecting people. The Revolutionaries had goals of freeing people. Um, really only the pirates should have the goals of finding the One Piece. They're a little bit more selfish. If it's a matter of getting the weapon so no one else can, if the One Piece even is a weapon, which this chapter almost makes it seem that way, we got to see. Like, I literally have no idea what the One Piece is going to be, but I did want to point out that it's a little odd to see revolutionaries in the mix here. These are like the final contenders, I guess, but if all these people are now going to be hunting for the One Piece, I just don't know what to say. I want to point out that we don't see Smoker, so that just again shows that Kobe is going to be that guy, and it's great to see him looking super cool, super serious with these heavy hitters. And we also don't see Mihawk. Mihawk's obviously under Buggy. Mihawk just kind of wants to chill. He's already the world's top swordsman, so I guess he doesn't need to be here, but he's not on Shanks' level. I've said that a million times. My stance is very clear on that. I think this is another panel that kind of just solidifies that, so. Anyways, that's it for today's review. If you enjoyed the breakdown of this One Piece chapter, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment with your theories and thoughts. I'm really looking forward to talking in the comment section. I don't have a lot of engagement with that right now, so I really want to encourage people putting their opinions out there. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Stay safe and stay healthy, everybody. It's been your boy Astro.